You ready, Nestor? Yeah. All right, mics are on. We're going to call the meeting to order. It is noon. If y'all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Miller, would you do our invocation?
Thank you, Mayor. Heavenly Father, we come before you. We are so thankful for this another day that you have given us. And we pray, Heavenly Father, that the thing that we do on today, if we look out the welfare of this city and these citizens, that you will be pleased in our decision. We thank you, Lord, for everyone that has given themselves into the service of this community, because we realize it's not about us. It's all about you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I have a motion to approve this agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. What you have in front of you is the entire general fund budget, so you can see how everything fits together finally instead of just hearing pieces of it. We'll go ahead and have the police department present their portion of the budget first. Chief, if you want to come up and do that.
Can I ask one question there, Chief? Any department heads have I want to call it, an explanation for major increase that written that we can look at, because we got to hear a presentation from everybody. I'm just curious, because I think that when we go in with major increases, anything like that, we should have some bullet points that we can review and then cut down a lot of time and a lot of talking. Then we'll know directly where to go with the question. That's just Miller. We used to do that, you know, capital improvement be spelled out. Now we have to ask for what those are. You know, things like that is really defeating and wasting a lot of time and effort when we need to get to the meat of it. It's just Miller's opinion.
I don't disagree with you.
And Mr. Miller, I think what I have answers your exact questions. Any increases and any decreases, I've got it on here. This is not a long presentation. I'd be happy to go back through any of the other line items, but that's exactly what I've done on this one, to explain any increases that we're asking for.
Thanks, sir.
And if y'all will, the police budget starts at line item 001-100-410.
So this year's budget, our proposal that we submitted to the mayor, we tried to keep this budget as lean as possible. I think this is the first budget in my 7 years that the overall increase has been as small as it has been as far as a request. And the reason for that, before this board was here, back about 6 or 7 years ago, we were in really, really bad shape. Alderman Harris, you'll remember, on our police vehicles. So it was like a 2-year period where we had to buy like 24 cars within that period. So we had lease purchases on that. So we, fortunately this year, we just paid off our last big lease purchase. So we actually have a savings, debt services savings of about $190,000. So we're able to absorb some of our requests with that money. So just to run down any line item in our budget remained exactly the same unless it's on this one slide here. So the left column is increased, the right column is a decrease. And every increase is just the nature of what's going on in our economy today. We did, on our request for fuel and gas and oil, we did shoot a little high, but we did have one or 2 months this year where we had a $30,000 bill, whereas normally in FY23 we were seeing somewhere between $16,000 and $20,000. So we've got a $70,000 increase there. Our uniforms, we've asked for a $2,000 increase. Just the cost of the fabric has just gone up. Our professional services, that increase there, we have requested to add 2 additional flock cameras to the city. So that takes that there. The travel, we were just a slight increase of $1,000. We were getting pretty close on our travel budget this year. As you know, with COVID, for about 2 years, we weren't able to send our folks out to do a whole lot. So we're trying to, we do as much in-house as we can. Officer Ratliff does an outstanding job of bringing folks into the city. But we also want to send our troops out when we can to get the travel, the training that we can't get in home. The insurance, I believe we still don't know, Mayor, unless we had a meeting we still don't know. We're just projecting. I think he shot high on that.
Just so everybody knows, we've gotten our liability portion. That line item of insurance has two portions: the liability portion, which we do know, and the property insurance that we're still waiting on a reply on. But our best guess is the total of those two will be $30,000 this year.
Yes, sir.
We were underinsured on many of our properties, so they're making those adjustments, and underwriting is still getting back to Cook Insurance on that.
Outside vehicle repair, we've asked for a $10,000 increase. Just simply the cost of parts and to repair our vehicles is going up. And with the exception of a couple new vehicles that we got this year, everything that we have now is out of warranty. So everything that's happening, we're having to fix that. It looks like we had at least on 1 year model car, I think the radiator fan's been blowing up on most of them, which it really eat up a lot of the budget this year. It seems like they all started happening within a couple of weeks of each other. Prisoner housing expenses, we've asked for another increase in that. Prisoner expenses, another slight increase in that. And capital improvement computers, so those computers are a carryover from last year. That particular line item would be for the new Sally Port. So I think what we budgeted last year when we bought computers this year, they were slightly more than we thought they would be. So the decreases, we decreased our legal services by $10,000. We did not hardly spend any of that money this budget year, so we felt pretty comfortable reducing that. As I stated earlier, our loan principal has been reduced by $180,000, as well as our loan interest of $7,925. So we had a total request increase on that section at, I believe that's 130, was that 133? I need my glasses on. And we had a decrease of 197,925.
And let me clarify on that one. Those are the numbers we had when he and I left our meeting. Then I put finance numbers in for the Sally Port instead of purchasing it outright. So the numbers on his debt service are a little different because we added the Sally Port 1 year payment back in there.
So
Excuse me, Mayor, that's the line item for $350,000?
yes, sir.
Yeah, the $350,000 will be what we spend to build it. But then there's a debt service line item, which is 100-820 and 100-830, and the note payment is in there. So to make all that work, we have, on the revenue numbers on the first or second page of the whole budget, we've got two items in there for a loan. One of them is the animal shelter and one's the Sally Port, but they're all combined together. So it's revenued in as a loan income, then spent in each department, and then we have the loan payment. Gotcha. So the loan payment's a little higher than he was saying because I added that in after our meeting.
So increasing revenue is really deceiving.
Yes, that increase in revenue was just a loan, yes.
I'm talking about when we go back up to our bottom line now, we show a significant increase in revenue, but we do really not in reality have that much increase in revenue.
Right, because we've also got a revenue of $2.2 million in MPO grant money in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
so it's not truly, when we look at the bottom line, they not truly
Not nearly as large,
revenue
yeah.
increase. So when
Right.
when the numbers go out to the public, they're gonna see a significant increase in revenue, which is deceiving, and they're gonna say, why you didn't do more? But in reality, they are loans and grants that we
Yeah.
can't use but one way. In some kind of way, we need to make sure that is noted. And that's when I'm talking about the explanation and things like that, the sheets that we should have before us when we get here. Because I look at the increase in revenue, I was, oh man, where does money come from? She fed me and I'm still talking. Move on.
So our next slide is actually, did you read my slide before? Because you just talked about revenue and now I'm talking about revenue. So increase in our revenue that would be brought in for this year would be $150,000. That's that money that you guys just accepted from the school board. And a reduction in revenue of $40,000 for the MCOPS grant. Captain Hodge talked to the school board, and with everything that happened with the school shooting, they do not believe that we'll get that money this year, but we will go back and look at that, and if we are able to, but that's.
And to be
that's
clear,
money out,
you're
money in.
referencing the school shooting in Uvalde, not a school shooting here.
Yes, yes,
That's affected money nationally.
yes, sir. Yeah, so that's money out, money in, so we, just to show that money will not be coming in. So we took the expense out of the budget. So in the mayor's proposal, he had told me that 4% is what he was proposing. So what I asked him to do and propose to the board, because we do, so lieutenant and below, when I presented last year, I told you all what I knew that agencies were trying to do and what they were planning on doing. At the time, we just did not know exactly what that would be. So right after we finalized our budget, Olive Branch passed a significant increase. As you can see, this is current scales. After they did that, DeSoto passed their adjustment, and they went just slightly above Olive Branch. And then South Haven in February, I believe it was February or March, they released their new pay scale. So what I've asked this board is that we look at a minimum of $2 per hour for our hourly employees, and so that's P1 to P2. Everyone that's salaried would stay at the mayor's request of 4% or proposed at 4%. And just so that everybody can see that, that's where we currently are. So, you know, if you're looking at, you know, starting a career in law enforcement, you know, we've got a significant spread there. We'd certainly like to close that gap because $4 or $5 an hour in police money is a significant difference of about $10,000. I talked to South Haven's chief earlier today. They're looking at 2% on top of theirs is what the city's looking like, and that's proposal, but 2% on them. I spoke to Michael Lee just a little bit ago, about 2 hours ago, and they are looking at 5%. Olive Branch is uncertain, and Horn Lake has already, they probably passed the largest increase in public safety, and I worked there for 17 years that I've ever seen. They will go to the highest paid in the county. They will go just above South Haven. They have already went through public hearing, so unless something happens, as of Tuesday night, they should adopt their budget, but they went 1 penny above South Haven. Of course, if South Haven passes a 2%, then it's, you know, an irrelevant, you know, they will pass them again. But if you see that, you know, it's about $5. So this is what it would look like at my proposal. So $2, and we're still $2, and we'll be about $3 behind South Haven after their 2%. Again, don't know what Olive Branch is going to do, but if they get 2 or 3%, we'll be about $3 there, and then the same with Horn Lake. Everyone in the county, with the exception of us, will be pretty close. If you look over there at our lieutenants, you know, you'd still be looking at you know, a $2 an hour difference. You know, we're just looking again to close that gap. And this year, with having that debt paid off, it's a good year to do that. And the cost of that, the request, if you add in the $150,000 revenue that we did not have over last year, our overall budget increase is only 1.3% over what we had for FY22, and that passes that, those raises. And if you look at that, even if we wouldn't have had to go up 70,000 in fuel, I mean, we'd be looking at pretty much a flat budget over last year. Now, I did tell the mayor this, and I did want to show you all this. I did an alternate just after talking. I was just down on the coast a couple weeks ago with the chiefs and just talking about what they were going to be doing. So I proposed another alternate, which is basically it's just an additional $1, so it'd be $3. So that's kind of how that would shape up. It would put us a lot closer. It wouldn't put us above anybody, but it'd put us within 50 cents to $1 an hour of everyone else. I won't spend a whole bunch of time on that, but the bottom line to show you what that number would look like. So we would be looking at a 3.2% true increase over last year if you factor in that 150,000 in revenue that we brought in from the school board. So it comes out to 191,244 over last year. If we just went with the 4% across the board for everybody, we would actually it would be a reduction of FY22's budget of 1.2%. And that's the same as last year. That's kind of where we want to be by 2026. And just, I think I may have mentioned earlier, we did have 2 additional officers in the budget, but after the school board came through with that money, we felt comfortable as an administration to hold off on adding any additional employees, because in the grand scheme of things, we did get 2 additional funded by someone else, in hopes that this board would pass these raises that, you know, to put our people a little bit closer. Oxford, I didn't get a chance to talk to Jeff. I miss Jeff, their chief down there, but I know that they've got a pretty substantial increase coming out October 1 as well. Lafayette County, I don't have theirs, but I talked to someone down on the coast a week before last, said that they had up theirs. You know, another thing to think about is, Germantown, all those entities in Shelby County, they offer lateral transfers just like we do. So if one of our officers was in the market to, let's just say, move to Germantown or whatever, they could, leave here and make substantial amount of more money. So this budget, simply put, trying to get our rank and file folks, trying to get their money up, comparison, and just those line items that we can't control. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. I just wanted to show you the increases and decreases, and we'd be happy to go through any light on them that you'd like to talk about, but everything else remained exactly the same.
So on that alternate of increasing it 3.2%, does that include 4% for all
That's
the?
4% for admin, yes, sir. And just so we're explicitly clear, we're lower than everybody else too, so significantly in most cases.
What other questions y'all have on this budget, this portion of it?
But the first pay scale that you proposed,
Yes, sir.
and that's $2 across the board for others, and then with the 2% to the
Admin,
admin
4% admin.
yes, sir.
on this scale here, on
Yeah,
this
the
program.
money that is us included, the 4%. I knew you would have that, so I didn't, there was no deviation in that from, this is just outside of what the mayor originally submitted, so I just as a justification to explain why. I mean, you can clearly see, I mean, I talked about it last year. I told you it was coming, and it came in a big way, so.
So the personnel numbers that you see in this budget are the $2 an hour proposal for rank and file and the 4% for everyone else in the department. That's included in that $4.5 million figure you see there in personnel.
And if you look at that too, Alderman Miller, that that 150,000, you know, we didn't have, so we're showing that revenue because we just added those. So when we started that budget last year, that's why I say when we look at the overall monies that we're asking the city over last year, that's.
And overall, and I guess I'm gonna say it anyway. And when I look at overall budgets, I look at capital improvement because capital improvement is figured into the budget. And so when some people come and tell me, say, well, my budget is only so much, and I ain't saying you, it's for all department heads. So when you tell me my overall budget is only 1% higher than last year, not using it for, but then we have to take out all those capital improvement that was in that budget. So where do we be at when the capital improvement is taken out that we already done completed? So now what percentage of this budget is increased minus capital improvement? Because if we just look totally at the bottom line, capital improvement is a one-time thing in most cases. So that should not be factored in whether my budget is increasing or decreasing, because each year we'll be falling into the same boat. So I'd like to see numbers tell me outside of my capital improvement, what percentage of my budget is increasing now? Not that, I would have said that whoever come up first.
Understand. Yes,
Because I think it's a line that we need. Miller think it's a line that I need to look at. I'll keep on saying we. I can't speak for nobody else.
Well, we kept our, just to answer
Well,
your question.
I'm just saying that
Yes,
that's for
yes.
that's for all department heads. It wasn't
Yes, sir.
picking you out.
Yes, sir, I understand. We kept our capital exactly as the same. We budgeted in hopes to get 7 cars this year like we did this past year. Hopefully, we don't have to go the
So
used
in your
route.
case, the capital improvement is the same, so
Yes,
it
sir.
wouldn't be.
Yes, sir.
But in some cases,
Yes,
not.
sir.
That's
I understand,
that's my
I
point.
understand what you're saying. Yes, sir. Yeah, we kept it exactly the same.
Doc gonna give me a cookie, so I'm gonna chew on a cookie next time. I got the laugh, man.
Any other questions on this budget? Or comments? Verifications?
From my own understanding, from a staffing standpoint, did I understand you to say you're at 100%?
Of where we need to be?
No.
Where
That wasn't the question, Chief.
Let me
That wasn't
rephrase
the
that.
question, Chief.
I understand.
Authorized positions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think that's the
We
question.
actually have, these fine gentlemen are gonna leave, as soon as we get done here, we've got one interview. We think it's a very good candidate, I believe, and we will be, if we select that person, we'll be fully staffed. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, you slick, Chief. And speaking of that, I have one more note here, and believe it is a note, y'all. It's in red.
Look.
No, I'm
I know what you
finna
do.
talk. No, you ain't heard what I'm finna say, though. And this for all department heads, Mayor. I would like to make a request that every quarter that we have an updated organization chart without us asking for it. I still have not received all, and I asked several weeks, almost a month ago, because HR did not have the information, so I couldn't be provided the information, because I wanted every organization chart prior to these budget hearings. And that's what, so I think that quarterly updates to this board is not unreasonable, because it's a living document, it should be updated as we go. When we get a vacancy, it show vacant. When it get filled, it show filled. Then that'll stop a lot of my questions. So I'm asking, I want that to be mandated. We get a quarterly update of organization chart. It's not a request. That's a statement. And
We'll add that to the duties of
I
this
mean-
understaffed community.
what? No. Okay, how often do you update your organization? See, this have nothing to do with staffing. This is my whole point. It don't require no additional personnel. Don't you know on a regular basis what your organization chart is?
Yes, sir.
Lee, don't you know? So we talking about sending an email. How long it take to send an email? Don't talk about understand. How long did it take to send an email? I'm blind. Okay. An email is you tag a document and send it. Less than a minute. And you tell me that a department cannot require an additional minute They have nothing to do with staffing.
Well, let me ask you this. If there's no changes, could you just wait and get one that's a change?
Okay, if it's a quarterly, we get these on, we get these on. It's just a center document. You don't want to read it, don't read it. I want to read it. That's why I said quarterly. I don't see the, man, I ran company for 20-something years, and we had them weekly. I'm just asking for a quarterly.
You can always,
And everybody that's working at a place know what your organization charted because you update it. In your office, you update your chart, you might not have.
Only when there's a change.
We'll get it.
Somebody here, you know what you got there, though, don't they?
We'll get it done.
Does anybody here know what our organization personnel is in these departments? Let's just be honest.
You're talking about the vacancies, is that what you're asking about?
The vacancy, whatever, and then we'll know what, we don't know.
you can always resend it from quarter to quarter and say no change.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's simple. We talking about
If
1
there's no
minute. It ain't
change,
nothing
but
that
no
we
change.
really,
But
it ain't no work.
We'll handle it.
But you don't want to read it, just say, don't send it to me. Send it to Miller.
Well, as far as the budget, I'm perfectly fine with your alternate, as far as I'm concerned.
I only have one other question. When you hire the person that you're getting ready to interview, you've got the equipment and the vehicle and everything already in place for that person?
Currently. They'll get a worn out one, but we have.
Well,
a
you've got the
vehicle.
vehicle. We
Yes,
won't be faced with buying another
Yes, sir.
vehicle.
We had anticipated, in selling the last couple of those Explorers that we had so much trouble. But we held on to them luckily, and then when the school board came through with that, we were able to get those in at least good enough shape to run as a backup or something like that. But yes, sir, we've got some for them.
And in this 295,000, how many vehicles do we think we'll be able to purchase with that this
We
year?
hope to get 7.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're looking at two proposals. One proposal with 191,000 increase, and the other one with 81,000 increase. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about a difference of $100,000.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments on that? If not, dispatch want to come up?
Fancy slideshows.
That's the budget starting at 130-410.
Mine is pretty simple. I think from last year, all that has changed is we did put in there the mayor's 4% increase in pay. There was an increase for our insurance. And I think there was a decrease in our machine and equipment. We purchased, I think we had 8,000 last year. We purchased new computers for dispatch for that. So we decreased it to 6 this year in hopes to buy monitors and backup batteries. I believe everything else stayed the same, if I'm not mistaken. So not much of a change for us. We're pretty simple. But I'll be glad to answer any questions if I can.
And you got one opening you're going to be trying to fill.
I've got one, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
We actually, she'll have 2.
We'll have
because
2
we
on
have a
Tuesday.
Communication officer transferring.
Oh, yeah, you're stealing one of hers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'll have one to bring to the board on Tuesday as well, so if that one's approved, then I'll have one, so.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Y'all have any questions on the dispatch budget? Overall, that budget's a 2.47% increase.
would you say 2.47?
Yes, ma'am. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Lee? You want to come talk about streets? So the streets portion of the budget, if y'all will remember, there are two places now that streets come out of. Street comes out of the street budget in the general fund, and it comes out of that special fund of money that the state sends us from lottery funds. So we can run through the separate piece of paper y'all have that's on its own first. So we are anticipating the revenue to stay approximately the same based on the information we have next year. So we'll get about $980,000 in this next budget. It'll come in February and July, most likely. That's when that money comes in. We'll earn a little bit of interest on that. And there is about 1.248, somewhere 1.248 million in that bank account right now. As y'all already authorized, once the parking paving gets done, it will come out of that money. So we hope it happens before September 30th. If so, we'll start the year with about 978,000. So that leaves us $1,964,000 in that fund. So I'm proposing we allocate $1.5 million of that for street paving this year. And that leaves.
Would you say that again? You're allocating how much?
Out of that fund, $1.5 million. Now that leaves y'all another 464, we think, approximately. You know, if y'all want to allocate that as well later, or later through the year, or now, or whatever. But I was just trying to get a good round number there of things we thought we needed. And then I'm putting, then we'll move on to the street budget, and you'll see there's some more money in there for paving as well.
Sure.
So you're proposing $1.5 million from $1.2 million last year to increase to $1.5 million this year?
No.
Okay.
The $1.2 million was 900,000 out of the general fund and 300,000 out of this last year.
Okay.
So this one's going from 300,000 to $1.5 million.
We're from 315.
Yeah, 315 to $1.5 million. And now we'll go to the street portion of the general fund and talk about that. You can run through we've got one person we allocate in personnel there, so if you want to run through that, Lee.
Sure. Like you said, street salaries. We got one person in there. We increased that a little bit because they've been working a little overtime, directing traffic with the water crew and stuff like that. Street supplies, we had an increase in that just because our signs are getting in such bad shape. I want to get some vinyl letters and get some paint, especially in the historic districts. And overall sign replacement. Stop signs are faded everywhere, so they've been neglected for quite some time. This won't fix them all, but this will fix a lot of them. Sidewalk supplies, we stayed the same. Motor vehicle gas and oil, we stayed the same. Safety and protective clothing, stayed the same on that also. Had a small increase in repair and maintenance to equipment. It's just because, like Chief said earlier, parts, supplies, oil, all that stuff is a little more expensive. Motor vehicle repair and maintenance, we increased it a little bit too. Trucks are getting a little older, requiring a little more maintenance. Street repairs, that one increased a pretty good little bit too, just because we're having more and more little one-off patches and failing infrastructure, failing road bases, stuff like that we have to go in and rip everything out, put a new base in, and then have the contractor come in and reapply asphalt. If you look at 001, 201, 600, I'm kind of allocating this primarily for striping with our existing roads, the roads we did last year, or actually this year, and then, intersections, stuff like that that's, getting really kind of hard to see at night just for safety issues. We didn't budget any for striping last year, so I want to put all of this into that, and hopefully it'll be a little safer for everybody.
Which line was that, Lee? I'm sorry.
That is 001, 201, 600.
Okay.
So it's a 90 striping.
It's unreal how expensive striping is, and apparently there's one company.
Yep, there's
They
only one.
got you. I've called every municipality and every contractor around here trying to find another striping company just so we can get quotes in a timely manner, and everybody uses the same one. There's not any, unless you bring them in from New York or Florida or something. So, Sidewalk services and repairs, we had an increase there. As all of you know too, the sidewalks are failing in certain places. Concrete's expensive, you know. Some of them we're having to build retaining walls to keep the sidewalks up and structurally sound so they don't fall off into ditches and stuff like that, like in Jared's neighborhood. Landscaping services, they had like a 4 or 5% increase this year for our medians and our interstate off-ramp and on-ramp cutting. So the chemicals and gas and labor went up, so they just passed that straight down to us. Engineering services, that went up too. We had a lot of projects we needed Joe Frank on this year and private engineering companies to engineer things, so that went up. Utility or insurance, had a little increase in that to 5,000. Utilities, we also had an increase in that. Me and the mayor sat down on that and kind of did a little quick amortization. Looks like we're going to be over or right at our budget this year, so we went a little above and beyond that for next year at 275,000.
Just so everybody's clear on that one, that is our street light bill.
Right. All of
So
our
we've
streetlights.
added some street lights and new subdivisions and things of that nature, so it's going up a little.
Exactly.
Are we still looking at changing those to LED or energy efficient? Aren't we looking at Tunica or something?
We're waiting on Tunica to get theirs done to see if it makes sense for us.
Yeah.
Okay. And are they the only city that,
The only one near us that are doing it. I think Senatobia is looking at it, but they haven't started there yet.
okay.
We didn't want to be the guinea pig on that process.
It's too expensive.
I just didn't say, got the cost saving that it's gonna render is way down the line.
Way down the line, yeah.
It's way down the line.
Because we pay a flat rate fee for those lights,
That's
no
what I'm
matter what
talking
they
about.
burn.
So that's a
Okay.
different, that's
So
a different.
they can tell you it's energy
Versus home
savings, but
versus the city.
it's helping energy, not us, so. Where are we at there? Engineering services, and then we went to insurance. Utilities, like I said, we went up on that a little bit. Outside repair vehicles, once again, our stuff's getting a little older, so we went from 10,000 to 15,000 on that.
Also, on that line item where it says 28,456 or 456, there was a line, there was something in there in error that should have been the utility fund
That's
for
correct.
fixing the street sweeper, and Amy Claire sent me an email and she moved it to the utility fund, so we didn't actually spend 28 on that line item.
That's right.
I know you mentioned they're getting older. I mean, are we talking, how old are we talking here? Like 15-year-old vehicles,
Yes, sir.
towing stuff around?
Some of them, yes, sir.
Okay.
We just lost a 2011 F-250 the other day with a 6.2 diesel in it. I mean, I can't see putting $27,000 worth of motor back in the truck.
No.
You know, it's, my luck, the transmission will go out the next day, you know, so, in my normal budget, you know, my regular water sewer budget, there's some capital improvements
Okay.
in there.
Okay.
So. Uniform rental, it stayed the same. Capital improvement sidewalks, we're gonna put 50,000 in that this year. We've got several that need to be connected. We've got one over on Monteith, we've got one in Mackinville, Holly Springs, or,
Yeah, one of Holly Springs we might look at. That one
Right.
might not make the budget.
that's right.
And then we've got one, and there's some in Forest Meadows that are literally about to fall off the hill that
That's
this will
right.
fix.
I've gotten quotes for those already too, so. We're gonna use every cent of that. So. that's
And
all.
right there, if y'all look up above there, there's the 400,000 out of the general fund for general overlays. So if you add that 400 to the 1.5 million, that's 1.9 million for general overlays that we'll let y'all hash out what it actually goes to later. And then as we roll on down towards the very bottom of that same page where it says MPO Mackinville, that's a 2,708,000, which is what MPO thinks that project's gonna cost. So on the revenue, we had revenued in about 2.2 million. So basically, this is showing we'll be paying $500,000 of that. It's gonna be tight to get that done in this next budget year, but I'm pushing to get it done, so we'll be ready for the school. And that road's just falling apart more every day. So the process doesn't open until January, when the MPO tip cycle is approved. We are ready to start going after it and getting engineering done immediately. Hopefully, we'll get it done in this budget year. If not, that could change.
Mayor, besides the soccer parking you talked about, what other project you think we may not be able to get paid this year that's pending, do you know?
The only other one is the $6,000 we had for the railroad crossing, because Joe Frank can't get the railroad manager to call him back. So that won't be a big deal. Everything else seems to have gotten done in the budget, in the streets budget. And then we'll, sometime after we get the budget passed, Lee will come back with some pretty good prices on prospective streets that can be paved, and let y'all choose how to spend the $1.9 million.
Sure. It's really hard to estimate those things too, because I was talking to our primary paving contractor the other day, and he said in the past 3 months, he's had 25% worth of increases in material, not to mention fuel and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just hard to accurately quote something like that too, until it gets closer to time. So, I believe that's it, isn't it, Mayor?
Yeah, the only thing left on there is the debt service. I forgot, Amy Cleary told me, but there was, I think in 2019, the board borrowed some money for paving, and this is the note that's paying that paving back. Any questions or concerns on that portion of it? I know last year I think last year when we'd allocated the $1.3 million, that's probably the most it's ever been allocated for street overlays in the history of the city, and we're bumping that up in general to 1.9, and then we'll be doing the 2.7 million on McInville. So this will absolutely be the largest paving year in the history of Hernando.
Absolutely will.
On that debt
And it still won't
service-
be enough, but it's, we're getting there.
Debt service, what's the balance?
I think there's 2 more years. I don't know the exact balance, but I will get y'all that number.
For the street overlay budget, is that strictly limited to actual pavement, or can that be used for also like the roundabout we talked about at
It could be
Hot
used for the
Springs?
roundabout.
Okay, so it can be used for changes, not just,
Yeah, that
Okay.
could be it's just streets, capital improvement.
okay.
Any concerns or comments on that portion of the budget? All right.
Thanks.
That was pretty easy. If y'all want to, we can run through the revenues on this general fund.
Sure.
So just go to the first page, and you scroll down through the first 6 or 7 lines, and they're all property taxes. Those are numbers straight from the tax collector or tax assessor. So they are increased, as you can see, a little over 7% generally. The Grand Gulf line item, that's a number that we just get from the nuclear power plant, our portion of that revenue every year. And as you can scroll down through there, if y'all see any of those that stand out to you, I know if you look at number 220, privilege licenses, I know that Austin had told us that 83,000 we brought in so far is an anomaly, because we had a couple of years of back licenses we were receiving. His best estimate from things he's gone through is that we'll get 36,000 there. The franchise taxes, we budgeted at 530. We're already at 539, and we got another 80,000 today. So that could go up, but you just never know. If you have a hot summer, your energy goes way up. You just never really know if those are going to be higher or not. This one will probably be higher than the 530, but I don't know if I feel comfortable estimating it higher. I always try to estimate revenues on the medium to low end and expenses on the high end. Building permits, these numbers came straight from discussions with Austin. Y'all can just roll down about 6 or 7 lines. You can see all of those. Y'all stop me if y'all need to stop on any of them.
On the Brownsfield grant, have we got that money yet, or is that applied for? or have
It's
we not?
applied for, so it's a $400,000 Brownsfield grant. That's the last one on your first page. She is assuming we're gonna spend $150,000 of it this year. So we put $150 in revenue, and then further back in the budget, the Brownsfield section is $150,000 expenses. So whatever gets spent gets reimbursed, and it usually gets reimbursed within about 6 weeks, so that'll be a wash. And 150 is just the best guess of what we would spend in the first year of the budget. The MCOPS grant, y'all saw that we were told we would probably get 0 there, so we budgeted 0. Sales tax. We have 1 month left, and we brought in $4,910,000. I just added what the revenue was for the last month last year, came up with 5.4 million. So that's what we'll have coming in this year, and I'm just gonna budget it flat. I assume with other businesses come in, it'll be a little higher, but I just don't feel comfortable spending money and revenuing it in, guessing that it's gonna come. So I'd like to leave that at $5.4 million, if y'all all agree on that. The rest of these numbers rolling down. Oh, at number 263, this is the amount of the grant for the Mackinville Road overlay. So that's the portion they'll give us, is 2.2 million, and then we would have, y'all know we had 2.7 million allocated. So that's the 500,000 match that we would have to put up. And of course, that's all relies on what the bid actually comes in. It could come in lower than that. So we hope it does, because we did estimate high on that one. The DUI grants are the same. Most of those rolling through there are the same. Y'all know the half-salary school board, we went from 150 to 300. The linear park, y'all see down at the bottom of that page, we got 77,000 in. That was just to reimburse us for expenses. That grant is closed out, so there won't be any more monies coming in on that. You'll see there's a bunch of new line items at the third page at the top for the fire fees that y'all authorized. Those will be helpful in the new year. Ambulance service, which is line 305. We're estimating 741,000, and that may be a low estimate. Police fines are at 400,000, we think. Those numbers came from the judge. He thinks that's where we'll be at this next year. And our rents down on 341, they are lower because the, not the election commission, the drug court moved out. The election commission, we're hearing, is looking at building a building, but we don't think they'll be leaving us during this budget year, so we left them in there. The loan proceeds, $1,135,000. So if y'all notice, we budgeted $1,310,000 for loan proceeds last year, but we didn't spend them. The $1,135,000 is $350,000 for the Sally Port. Was it $785,000 for the animal shelter? And transfer from surplus, that's a big number in your budget, number 380. Last year, that was $2,050,000. I had Amy Claire just tell me, based on cash in the bank today, revenue she expects before September 30th and expenses she expects before the 30th, and she said we should end up with $2,484,000 approximately on
Just
October 1.
carryover, right?
Yeah, that'll be our carryover, right. So, and we'll see, you know, on October 1, I always like to look at the bank account and see how close we were on that guess. So that gives us a total revenue of $21,142,201. And back to Alderman Miller's point, it is skewed from that $2.2 million coming in that grant and from the $1.1 million in loans. So that gives us a 21 million over a 16.9 last year. The 16.9 last year had about the same amount of loans in it, but it didn't have that $2 million grant. So we are up in revenues, but not up as much as that looks like realistically. Y'all have a good feeling about the revenue estimates? Y'all see anything that stands out as something you're not comfortable with? Because those revenue estimates are critical to the whole budget.
Well, I like the idea that you, in a couple of line items, went pretty conservative, went flat. So we got a little cushion hopefully coming to us there.
It worked out for us this year because we budgeted flat on the sales tax, and it came in pretty far over, about 8% over.
Mayor, can I ask you a question, just generic question?
Yes, sir.
Based upon, if we was to approve this budget as is right now, I know it ain't gonna happen,
Yeah.
just in this conversation. What will it do for our reserve fund? A lot of people don't like talk, I'm talking
Yep.
about reserve fund.
So,
Huh?
Contingency.
Contingency, yeah, that's the correct word. You know what I'm talking about, though.
so we had, I think, 738,000.
What number we at? Where we at?
We go to the next to the last page. 001-550-910. So this is showing 694,000 last year. I think it was 728,000. Y'all did a budget amendment and we dropped it a little, but I think it was 728,000. It increases that contingency to 825,000 this year.
And for others and some, and me too, just refresh
Yep.
our mind. Historical, everywhere we go, and people we talk to, the class and everything that we go to, what is the highly recommended number in reserve versus your budget?
It's not versus the budget.
I mean-
It's 6 months of operating.
Well, operating,
Yeah.
operating, that's
Yeah,
the word.
it's 6 months
I
of
know you were
operating
correct, man,
funds.
that's what,
Yeah, yeah.
thanks Chad and the mayor, y'all. No, you said continuous, you used the right word.
Yeah.
You were correct, yes.
Yeah, and we're still, this doesn't get us there. We need to keep working towards that for sure.
So basically, with this projected contingency in the operating budget would put us at how many months of operating?
Probably about 2.5.
So we're less than 50% of what's recommended by anybody, all the professionals.
Right.
We
What would be
50%.
an estimate of 6 months? So is that about two and a half, maybe? 2 million, something like that?
It fluctuates, but to make payroll and keep the lights on is probably about $3.5, $4 million.
We're headed in the right direction.
We're heading the right direction for sure.
Yeah.
We're going up. We're not going up.
I have seen this number at $100,000.
Oh, yeah.
Three years ago it was zero, wasn't it?
No, and that's one thing to me, Sam, and
Yeah,
we push
so-
for that, and we still pushing now that, even though we get these things, and we know our employees and our department head wants things, and we want to try to keep them, but we also got to look at the city as a whole, because if something happened, God forbid, but because we know what happened before. Jackson right now wasn't expecting to happen what's going on. You know, and I'm not using them, but we just the unexpected. We got to expect
right.
the unexpected. So
Yeah, I think it's wise of us to keep trying to grow the
yeah,
contingency
that's what I
fund for
wanted to
sure.
keep our mindset on.
Yeah.
Even though we have the increase in revenue, that we want to make sure that we continue to do something on this side of our budget.
Absolutely. I'd almost like to see us get a goal of how many years we want to take to meet that 6 months.
Right, I'm just saying, but yeah, that's doable too. I'm just saying, but I would like to, be reminded of the contingency fund. Funds.
A lot of people call it the rainy day fund.
Don't use that number in Jackson right today.
One thing we haven't ran through, which is fairly flat, is the admin budget. So we can just run through that one. That starts on line item 040-400. So in this budget, let me be real clear on, I think I said it the other day, but I want to make sure I'm clear. I proposed those 4% raises for people across the board, except some that are different than that or higher than that. There are a few positions across some of the budgets that there are people that need to make more and have been left behind for a few years. And there are probably 8 or 9 people in a couple of our budgets who are making less than $15 an hour, and I'm bringing those up. I will bring those are all included in these budgets, so they're figured in. And I will be bringing those to y'all Tuesday night in executive session, because when we're speaking about individual people and their pay raises, those need to be talked about in executive session. But they're in this number, and there's a couple in this number as well. So I want y'all to be aware that, you know, if y'all pass all the budget, all the personnel proposals I'm asking for, they're already in these budgets. If you don't, there'll be money left over.
So the only thing that's not in there would be alternate 2 from police chief.
You're right, the alternate 2 is not in there, that's correct.
What about fire?
Fire? Fire is in there, yeah, the fire was in theirs. The one that they had presented the other night is in the budget.
So they coming back, right?
Everything comes back to y'all. I mean, it's all, here's what I'm hoping is, as I get comments, we look at things, we talk about the Public Works budget Tuesday night, and then we have the public hearing on Wednesday where y'all can let me know what y'all are wanting to change or not change and adopt it on the public hearing day. And all the department heads will be here.
Well, since they coming back, make sure that they have Miller something written out on these exorbitant numbers and justification.
Gotcha.
Miller, I'm from that Hernando Central High School, you know, we kind of slow, so we have to take me a little time.
I'll try to have all that together for you.
I just got department heads. Did Lee mention the increase in contract and service?
But that's for the public.
That's the Public Works budget.
Show some bullets on that.
Okay. All right, so we
Not
got
them kind of bullets, Chief.
on
Use the
personnel.
wrong words.
Admin personnel showing a $42,000 increase from 456 to 498. If you just run down through general supplies, it goes from 11.1 to 13.7. And you'll notice in the current year on office supplies, 040-500, there were a bunch of computers and monitors that had to be replaced that were in there. A lot of that was in there. So those have been done. We don't expect to see that again this year. The audit, you can see our half of the audit. The audit is 22.5. Is that going to be the right number? Yeah, because we're going to have to pay for this year and the next year. So that's 2/2 of a budget. And the other part's in the 400 fund. Legal expense, we dropped it. We just didn't know what legal expenses we would have, but we spent 13. We're budgeting 20 instead of 50. Professional services, we went up 5,000 because we're at 34,000. Postage went up a little bit, not a lot. The tax collection fees, that number is based on how many taxes are collected. Pretty much it's a percentage, so we raised that to 170 since our taxes that we're collecting will go up. And I want to make sure that I think the board knows, but just so the citizens know, there's no tax increase put forth by this board. The revenues we're getting in increased property taxes are just because there have been lots of houses and new buildings built. That's where that's coming from. It's just new buildings, not an increase in the tax rate.
Mayor, what account do we pay, or give money to the nonprofits? Is that in the tourism budget, or is that in this budget?
There's some in the tourism and there's some in here, and I'll get to that one in just a minute. So we set aside some in Gia's budget and tourism and some here. And we didn't spend any out of this one. I'll answer it real quick. It's 040-649. We've got 6,000 in there. And then I think we had about, was it 16 or 18,000 in the 108 fund, the tourism fund. There was quite a bit in there. So between those two, that's where those come from. Everything else is pretty flat down through there. Oh, the computer maintenance contract, that's all the stuff we pay to the computer service guys when they have to come fix something. So we raised that. I will say that Alderwoman Lynch had asked us to provide the number that we've been paying out for these services so we could think about, should we hire in-house computer guy or computer lady? And I feel like we're within the next year or so probably need to do that.
Yeah,
I don't feel like we're quite there yet, but we're pretty dang close.
Yeah, we look pretty
Yeah.
close as far as salary.
I agree too. It didn't look quite
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, but we are spending a whole lot of money subbing out our computer repair stuff. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind for maybe next budget.
And And I know a lot of the department heads would love to have an in-house
Yep,
IT specialist, so we're not waiting.
I see hands going up.
So, I mean, we probably need to look sooner than later, because having somebody
We'll-
in-house,
We'll cut that raise back 3%, we'll get one this year.
we could do that.
Let them make a choice. I didn't see no hands go up. I mean, I just saw.
Yeah. Back to the contributions that we give
Yeah.
to different organizations. Do y'all have a list of agencies and amounts already that you have designated?
We've been
or-
collecting them in a file for y'all to have.
Okay.
And we'll just put them in front of y'all and see what y'all think.
Okay, because
You know,
if,
some people are asking for $10,000, and I don't think we're doing that. You know, we're not gonna give one group $10,000. We
Right.
just can't afford to. We're a small city. But some of them are outrageous, and some of them are things we give every year, it seems like. You know, we support the Optimist Club with the A-Fair, and we support the House of Grace, and we support the Head Start, but in small amounts.
right,
But I'll try to get all those letters gathered up. She's got some, I've got some. They just come in randomly.
We've had some people speak.
And
to
we've
it.
had some people
Right.
speak, that's right.
Yeah, and I'd like to see a running list of them too, just to see where that fits into our budget, for
You
sure.
work on that for us, Pam?
Let's see what we did this year.
Versus, yeah, we can easily see what we did this year. That'll be in the
yeah.
budget.
This year plus the request, and then what y'all think would be reasonable.
Okay.
But also, you can get the last year prior to that and see if it's been something that went out of the norm versus what the norm was too.
Okay.
So, I mean, we need a little bit more data than the last year, we can get that information. I'm just scared that we can't, if not, you know, that's, you know, we know we're understaffed. We know we're understaffed, so I don't want to put too much on the staff.
Thank you,
so
thank you.
That's, if possible.
So basically, our total other services and charges went from 388,000 to 400,000. And capital outlay, we put $5,000 in there in case we need a computer or something. We don't have anything in mind, and we hope we don't spend it. We didn't spend it this year. It's just there in case we need something. And we got 2,000 for furniture and fixtures in there, for a total admin capital outlay of 7,000. And y'all already heard from the Parks Director on the Parks budget. One of his revenue items was 505,000 from the general fund, and this is where we expense that out of the general fund to go to Parks. So the total general admin went from $1,369,000 to $1,424,000. Legal salary stayed the same. We've got a contract with our city attorney, so that just stayed the same. That was the next one down. The janitorial supplies, all that's the same. There's a 4% increase in there for the personnel in that budget. And I think all the rest of the ones in this budget y'all have already heard from. So as a whole on the general fund, what are y'all's thoughts?
I'm pretty comfortable right now, Mayor. I ain't there yet, but I'm pretty comfortable.
All
For the
right.
record, I'm comfortable. I get that food did something to me. I won't eat next week.
So the plan would be, we'll have Lee's budget in y'all's packet Friday, and we'll discuss it at the board meeting Tuesday night. We'll go into executive session to discuss some personnel raises that are already included in this budget, and see if I can convince y'all that those are needed. And then we have the public hearing on Wednesday night. It's been advertised in the paper, and hopefully by then we'll have made any changes y'all requests on Tuesday night and get something adopted. Anything else? Yes. Oh, yeah, let's run through let's do animal control right now. I forgot about that. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, that's a pretty big piece, actually. I will say in animal control, I'm looking for it in here. I think it's near the end. Y'all find it before I do, holler at me. Okay, it's 400, 001-400-410. So you'll see the salaries in there go up almost double. Right now, we are budgeted for 2 full-time and 2 part-time. And Chief and Shane even more than Chief, have been up there literally cleaning dog cages, walking dogs. They probably 100% understand how that thing operates now, because they've been running it with Hunter. We have 1 full-time person right now and 1 part-time. And they've talked to other agencies near us, and it just appears that the animal shelter, when it's up and running, is going to need 2 full-time, a director, 2 full-time animal control officers, 1 kennel tech, and 1 clerical person that can also help with kennel tech. But basically, that budget has 5 people in it. So that's what we think it will need. Now, I will say that this is 5 people for a whole year. It's not going to be built for the whole budget year, so that number will come down for the first year. And we probably won't be able to hire all those people right away. We're still looking for an animal director. But we feel like, from all the research we've done, that's what it's going to take to run that thing properly.
I go back to some of the conversations I had last month.
Yeah.
Is we, and then you just said it then, realize, and see, that's when the budget be skewed the next year, when I'm finna say this. We realize we won't hire those folks for a full year. But we're gonna have a year's salary built into this budget. So when that department head come back before us next year, this is what I proposed last year, this is what I spent, so I'm gonna stay flat. So it's really deceiving. We know it's deceiving on the front end. So why propose a year's salary when we're gonna propose a 6-month salary? That just Miller. I mean, that's good. That's good budgeting sense.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm thinking I need to change that number.
Did anybody else think that way? I'm just being realistic.
Yeah, because, I mean, we could absorb that somewhere else where we might think we're over.
Yeah.
Come on, Jay.
If you can, just from our experience, and y'all probably don't want to hear from him because he has that
Bitter?
It's just
A little bitter about it?
Tired.
Tired? No bitter, just tired, okay.
If we could, if you could leave the second animal control full-time, with what we have now, there's no days off for anybody. None, 0. We're doing everything that we can to get these dogs and cats adopted out. I've adopted one, Ms. Dana's adopted one,
So run across them numbers again versus what the chief
but
said.
if we
No,
could,
let's hear the numbers
because
again. Okay, what's
they do
being
not get a
proposed?
day off, and the overtime is crazy. I mean, luckily, y'all got us for salary, but if y'all had to pay us overtime over the last couple months.
So here's what I'm hearing from you is,
Right.
we need the director and 2 animal control for the whole year. So that's 3 salaries for the whole year.
Okay.
And then the other 2 for 6 months.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll take off 6 months for 2. That's fair.
Don't feed me no more. I'm on the road now. Y'all are cooking. You want a cookie?
That kick
No, I'm in the
chicken
cooking, man. Get my
sandwich,
sugar level up. Yeah, I'll be berserk then, bro.
Y'all can run down and look through the projected supplies and stuff. And while we were in our meeting, I'm gonna give him a plug. I asked Chief if he had a good contact at AWG, and he called AWG because we were talking about dog food and how expensive it is. And it's hard to depend on volunteers to provide it all the time, and they have been doing good. But he got on the phone, and same day, we got a pallet load of dog food. So we feel like AWG is going to help us. That's why we're keeping our supplies kind of fairly flat, because we think they're going to help
Can I tell you about
us.
what happened in the conversation?
Yes, sir.
Well, when I serve on another board, and AWG right now, because of the way they house food, they have more opportunity to do what the chief did. When after 2023, it's gonna be a totally different animal. And it's gonna be good for the first year, I grant it, because other nonprofits that were using them as one of their main sources now, they already told them that those resources are gonna drop, so they now is trying to find other avenue from feeding people that, because AWG was a good, like you said, a good partner
Yep.
in doing community stuff. But there again, because of the way they finna do business now, they're not gonna have that waste that they got to.
Oh, yeah, the automated stuff is
It's
not
gonna,
gonna bust as many
decrease, I mean,
bags.
it's gonna almost, they're hoping that it almost go away.
I thought y'all had gotten some, I thought Walmart had
You know what I'm saying?
donated and there were
Yeah.
other
So this
area
first 23 gonna
places.
be good.
Is that
Did
Heartland?
Walmart used to donate too?
So what we've learned over my 7 years here with Walmart, they change managers about once a year.
Yeah.
I forget trying to know the manager because it keeps changing. So every time one changes, then the rules, like when we do the shop with a cop every year it's a different process and we get different, we raise money and then the money that we don't raise, we get from Walmart. And it's a different deal every year.
What about Kroger?
I don't know that we've reached out to Kroger, but I'd be happy to do
But they
that.
have a
I just
new-
wondered, I
they
mean,
have a
if
new-
AWG is gonna
They
drive,
got a
we need
new
another
marketing
source.
director out at Kroger also now that you got that other lady's gone. So it's a new person over there now that we got to try to get in contact with.
My conversations, I'm going to lunch again next week with AWG people as part of the agreement. But they seem to act like we're gonna have more than we can store, so.
Oh, that's good. Hollywood Feed is usually, they give back into the
And
communities too.
we also, Hunter reached out to Science Diet, because Science Diet will provide food at almost no cost, or no cost. But we will revisit that, but since we don't have an actual shelter yet,
Yes.
other than a shed, we didn't qualify, so they denied us. But we'll revisit that also.
I
So we'll
think
try to
we'll
keep that
open up,
supply line
yeah.
item down as low as we
I think
can.
we'll open up some possibilities once we have the new shelter for sure.
Other than this, we had gone up 2,000 on the supplies because we were a little worried about dog food or whatever. And we just don't know what we're gonna need with a new shelter either. So we went from 6,000 to 9,000 in supplies. The other services and charges, that's where we pay the veterinarian bills. So we're at 44,000, we budgeted 45. However, we do get donations in, as y'all approve and see a lot, and a lot of those donations go towards those vet bills. So, and there's some that are just designated specifically for vet bills. So this isn't all our money we're spending, all taxpayer money. A lot of it is donations that come in on the revenue side.
Well, when we build a shelter, we're gonna have more cost anyway, overhead cost. Utilities, water, everything that we're
We
not
are.
really utilizing now, so we've got to think about that moving forward.
Yep, we put 3,000 in for utilities. We think that'll be about, half a year? It'll be a new building, fairly energy efficient. We put 3,500 in for insurance, because suddenly we'll have a new building to insure. Outside repair to vehicles, we have the van now that was donated to us, so we got 2 vehicles, so I put 2,000 in for that.
Do we have any more, I guess, timeline of where we are on?
They hopefully
Building?
today or tomorrow will be pouring the slab. It's
Okay.
been raining just enough to mess them
Right.
up.
Right.
It keeps getting muddy.
So it'll be spring of next year, probably, realistic?
It sure looks like it.
Okay.
Yep. And so you're going to see this big number in there under new animal shelter building and 40720 of 785,000. But we're revenuing that in as a loan, and then we'll pay the note down here under the loan of principal and interest payments. We have 50,000 there for capital outlay machinery and equipment. That's the $50,000 donation that was given to us specifically to furnish the building. So we'll be spending it for things inside the building, and Bruce has hooked me up with another person who may donate some more money for that.
Initially, we had 650 in there.
Yeah.
Had some money from an old bond bill or something.
We said 665, and I think we had said 280, I think, out of the bond bill. And once the bond money shook out, we didn't have as much in there as we thought we
It
did.
started at 275,
Yep.
but it reduced
Yeah.
because of other monies that was spent out of it.
Spent out of it, yeah.
But it
And we
it was
finally got
started
down to
at
the point where,
275.
and Amy Claire, I don't know the number on top of my head, but it was a lower number, but whatever was finally left after everything was spent, we're spending on the animal shelter now.
Out of that, so the 785 is what we got left.
Yep. We'll need to get a loan for that. We're gonna ask y'all at the Tuesday night meeting to let us advertise for bids for that loan. So that's the animal shelter budget, and I think that's it. So any other questions or major concerns before we adjourn until our regular scheduled meeting Tuesday night?
Move to adjourn. Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. We are adjourned. I'll see y'all Tuesday night at the regular meeting.